I'm Robin. I'm with the Career Connection Center, and have here Ms. Tabitha Hadley from TIAA. Sorry about that. And we're going to just have a Q&A about hiring and what they're looking for at TIAA. Hello, Tabitha.
Hi, how are you? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So, can you please tell us about TIAA?
Yes, of course. So TIAA stands for Teachers Insurance and Annuity Association of America. So we are, and in essence, in our core, we are a financial services company. And what we do is we provide 401k retirement solutions to individuals. And so just for some historical background, people often ask why the T stands for teachers. So we were originally founded over 100 years ago by Andrew Carnegie to help teachers retire. They didn't have the resources and support for that, and so we were founded to assist them through that journey and process and start thinking about saving for their future. And while that is still our focus, and a lot of our clients are higher education institutions, a lot of colleges are our clients. We've since expanded beyond that, and we say that we help those who serve others. So lots of our clients are also going to be nonprofit organizations, diversity organizations, and even you as an individual can go online and set up a retirement account, but we're here to educate on financial literacy and help people start thinking about saving for their future. So in essence, we are a financial services company.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. And it's very interesting too.
Yes.
What is your role at TIAA?
Yes, so I am one of our early talent recruiters or talent acquisition advisors. And so what I do is I get to bring all of the top talent to the business to support our business needs. Particularly, how our team is set up is we have a variety of different recruiters to recruit for different lines of businesses. So I am the recruiter who is aligned to the technology side of the house. So for our computer science students, engineering students, etc., I hire those into our programs.
Wonderful. How should a candidate, if they're interested in a position at TIAA, submit their resume?
Yes, so you can go to our careers page. There is a TIAA careers page, but there's also a TIAA early talent careers page. It's two separate things. You can go there and take a look at our opportunities and apply to the application portal. That is how we capture your application to move you forward along in the process.
Wonderful. Because the TIAA does require an application, correct?
Yes, correct. You do have to apply in order for us to consider you for the role.
Wonderful. What should a successful resume, meaning one that the candidate is going to get to the interview, what should it contain? What information can elevate the applicant?
Yeah, I like this question. We often get that a lot from candidates about how can I stand out in the application process. So, regardless of what company, and this is the advice that I give to all students. A couple of things. So, one, you always want to make sure that your resume is aligned to the actual job description. So, oftentimes we create one resume, it's very generic, and we apply to all the roles with that one resume. And while sometimes that can be okay, I do recommend optimizing and changing your resume depending on what job and company you're applying for. So if you're looking at the job description literally for a role, what I would do is I would take a look at my resume, pull some keywords and phrases out of that resume and see how it can fit into out of that job description and see how it can fit into my resume, just so that that shows the recruiter that you actually are applying to this role specifically. Even down to when you save your resume as a PDF, even putting your first and last name, but also maybe dash the company you're applying to. Those are small little things that we honestly look at because that lets us know again that you optimized your resume for the role. So I would say that's always going to be the first thing I would share, because every single job description is different. Like while we're a financial services company, again I'm technology, so a technology resume or a technical resume is going to look vastly different than one for a marketing and communications resume. So that's the first thing I would say, just the foundation. The second thing I would say is you want to have measurable impact highlighted on your resume. So instead of saying that I just worked on a project, how many people were on your project and what was the outcome of that project? What was the impact made? And I definitely would say if you can put metrics and numbers, all of that looks great, and it'll help you stand out. Because again, everybody has project experience. Everybody has, especially for students, everyone's starting to have the same type of background and experience. Those are the things that can set you apart, as having numbers and measurable impact. Something I often share with students too is every single company has a value system. So if you literally just type in like a company, the company name slash values and do a Google search, you'll see a list of those company values. These values are important because this is what the company bases all that they do off of and what they're looking for in the employees that work there. And typically, as talent acquisition professionals, we are trained to look for those values in our candidates. That's how we teeter our application process, our interview questions. So I would always say, take a look at those values and see how you can showcase that in a resume. So, for example, every company has different values, but I think there's some themes of collaboration and connecting with people. Your ability to work on projects, to take on leadership. These are often some key themes you see in values across organizations, and if you can showcase that on your resume in any capacity, whether that's student clubs and organizations that you lead, whether that's special projects you've worked on, special coursework you've taken, those are all things I want students to think about how they can showcase those values on their resume. And the last thing I will say too is people don't realize this. While a resume and document it's really important because that is what we look at. It starts before the resume. So by then, hopefully, you would have gone to a career fair and connected with this company. You would have connected with the recruiter way back when for like an exploratory conversation. Somebody in the organization actually that you've spoken with. So having those touch points throughout the year before the role even opens up. I know for early talent, a lot of our roles open in the fall. The spring is the perfect time to have those conversations. So that way, when you apply, it's not a cold apply where I'm looking at your resume and I've never met you. I don't know who you are. Like those are ways that you can stand out is making sure that you have those touch points and have those connections with the business before you even apply. So those are a couple of things that I think we look at and think about as recruiters in the application process for sure.
That is wonderful. I love how you are mentioning that it has to be meaningful. The
Yes.
resume has to be meaningful. That's one of the things that is just reiterate those. But
For
very,
sure.
thank you. After a resume and application are submitted, what do you advise that the applicant do to follow up?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll say two things. Sometimes after you apply for a role, you may not know who to contact at that time. So after an interview, you should know who to contact. But when you first apply, depending on how the company will post their roles, sometimes on like LinkedIn, you can see who the recruiter is, and you can reach out to that recruiter, send an email, and say, I just submitted my application for this role on this date. Thank you for your consideration. I'm super excited to work here. You can even maybe list out some bullet points on your value that you plan to bring to the company, but keep it short, sweet, and concise. And so if you are able to connect with somebody in that way, again, I will go on LinkedIn, look at the role and see if there's a recruiter. Usually at the end of the job description on LinkedIn, you'll see who the recruiter is. You can certainly send them an email or a LinkedIn message. But if you don't know who that person is, then I would say at this stage, it's okay if you don't reach out. If you don't know, it's not something that I think as recruiters we expect just yet. I think it's something that we often will expect after the interview. But if you certainly do have that point of contact, I will go ahead and reach out.
Awesome, thank you.
Mhm.
Um, if the applicant is selected for an interview, how should they prepare? Should they bring anything with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. A couple of things come to mind. At this point, hopefully, you would have done your research on the company because you applied, right? We're not just cold applying to companies these days. Like you said, it does have to be meaningful. So, a couple of things to prepare for your interview. It's kind of also tips for your resume, but one, you're going to do your company research and kind of have some bullet points that you memorize or know to speak on that you've seen in the news about the organization. So whether that's certain special projects they've worked on or certain partnerships that they've had, like just something that stuck out to you so you can kind of speak to that during the interview process, because that's going to show us that you actually did your research and are interested in working here. I would say too, It's okay to reach out. Hopefully, at the point that you are asked for an interview, it's okay to reach out to the recruiter and beforehand and say you're looking forward to the interview. You can even again highlight some points that you are interested in covering. You can even attach your resume again, like just following up and making sure that they understand your excitement. I think that that's something that you can definitely do. And then I would say that the thing about interviews is that you never know what questions are going to ask. But typically, for that first round interview, which is going to be with a recruiter or me, for example, that interview is really just an interview to get to know you. And so, having your answers or your thinking points about one, you're definitely going to be asked, "Tell me about yourself." So that is directly correlated with your elevator pitch. So I certainly would recommend students think about what their elevator pitch is. And if somebody asks you, tell me about yourself on the street, in the elevator, when you're out and about, you can speak to that quickly and efficiently and effectively, but really quickly as well. So having your idea for your elevator pitch is going to be really helpful. And then again, this is an interview to get to know you. So common questions you're probably going to come across is how you collaborated with a group. I definitely would say depending on the interview, like if this is a more technical interview, being able to speak to your technical skills maybe. But if this is not, speaking to past projects, past internships, past work experience that you've done, and then anything on your resume you really want to be comfortable speaking to, because as a recruiter it's fair game. So I can look at your resume and ask you about something from last year, and you should be able to speak to it. So these are a couple of things to just think about, is what you're actually going to be asked.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
What do you, as a recruiter and hiring manager, expect from applicants during the interview? Would that be the same thing that you mentioned, or might there be?
Yeah, I was gonna say all those things. I think really what we look for is preparedness, thorough answers, and excitement. So I would say, if students don't know, there is a interview method called the STAR method. So it's situation, task, action, and result. There's lots of interview methods, not just STAR, but that is going to help you to at least start thinking about how to answer questions. I know sometimes we get nervous or really excited about an opportunity, and we forget like the last piece, which is the result. And so, as long as you're able to drive home the impact that you made, that's going to be really, really important. But I think in total, in all, I really think preparedness and showing that throughout the interview, um, and confidence are a few things that we look for.
It's just that's excellent. That's exactly what we're telling students too.
Oh, awesome. Okay, well, you are on the right track then.
What do you, as a recruiter and hiring manager, expect from applicants after the interview?
After, um, I think I mentioned this earlier. It's definitely okay to reach out and send thank yous. It never hurts. So I definitely would recommend gathering the anybody who's on your interview panel, their contact information. You can ask the recruiter that if you don't have it. And just sending a follow up email. And then in that email, if you feel like for some reason there was something you didn't cover in your interview, you got kind of nervous and forgot to mention, or you just forgot and you're like, wait, I forgot to bring this up. You can certainly capture that in your post interview communication. Outside of that, I think that's it. Um, I definitely would recommend students not follow up too much with a recruiter. It's fine to follow up once if you feel like it's been some time. Like definitely would give it maybe 3 to 5 days. But typically at the end of the interview, the recruiter will share with you the timeline and when they plan to reach out. So if that recruiter has not done that, I definitely recommend that being one of your questions that you're asking at the end of your interview. When I ask you, do you have questions? Because that's going to help you understand a realistic timeline. Because if this one company says we can reach out in a couple days, but another company says a week, right, or 2 weeks, like that'll help you know when you can reach out, but no more than once. Should you kind of reach out, so that you don't, I know we're excited, but as long as you reaching out once can showcase that you listened, when we mentioned our timeline, and that you are respecting and honoring the process. So
It's wonderful. I really appreciate this conversation. I
Yeah.
think that you gave such great answers and such good insight into how recruitment works and
Oh,
what the candidates can expect, what you're looking for. I really appreciate you. Are there
yeah, of course.
any comments that you'd like to make?
Um, let's see. I always try to leave words of encouragement to students. Um, I would say enjoy the process and the journey. Every no is not directly tied to you as an individual. So don't be discouraged if you're not selected for an opportunity. Know that the opportunity for you will find you. As long as you are doing the right things within your control, and that's all you can focus on, right? So I would just encourage students to do all that they can. Listening to sessions like these, utilizing your resources on your campus or your career services center when you think about your resume and interview prep. But outside of that, like that's all within your control. Everything else, you leave on the table, right? So I would just encourage students to appreciate the journey and process. Do what you can, but don't take things too personally.
Thank you so very much, Miss Hadley.
Yeah. Thank you so much for